know it's not that. What does it say about the players that you have that when the time comes against the best competition, they respond?
I would like to think that the players who come and make a commitment to come to play at Connecticut are the kind of kids that live in a world already where they think the big moments are made just for them and that they can handle, or at least they want to be in a situation where they want to find out if they can handle. So we do as much as we can every day from the very first day to try to put them in those situations where we find out, do you have it? Do you have it in you to be successful come March? And then it's our job as coaches to make that happen throughout the course of the season. And some years you just have a ton of those kids. They live for the bright lights, they live for the biggest games. And some years you don't. Mostly though, over the years at UConn, we have had just enough of those players that came to Connecticut for a reason. And the reason was to play in March and to play in the biggest games on the biggest stage. And if you want to compete in the biggest stage where there's the most pressure and the biggest rewards, then you come to Connecticut and prove to yourself how good you are.
Aaliyah's always could be, sort of been a complimentary in a lot of way for her to take a main role. And she's done it most of the year because you've kind of gone, this is fair, you've kind of gone the way she has gone this year. When she's played well, you've been great. You always see that in her, or is this something that has come out this year?
Yeah, she's been kind of enigma a little bit. Freshman year, I thought she got better and better and better every day, and her work ethic was unbelievable, and her drive to be good was off the charts. Then last year, coming off the Olympics, with the Canadian national team, I didn't think it was the same Aaliyah, and she didn't feel like the same Aaliyah, and at the end of the season wasn't satisfied with the way the season went. And this year she spent more time on campus, didn't do a lot of the other stuff. I spent more time with the players, working out, so her skills got better. Her confidence grew, and she became what I thought freshman year she was on her way to becoming. And I just think today was a perfect example of, the offensive performance, the rebounding performance, on top of having to guard a player that is really, really hard to guard. So you put all those three things together, and it was like an all-American performance.
What are you most encouraged about with this team right now? What are you doing really well that makes you believe, you can make a Final Four run?
Well, the first 27 minutes of the game, I would say maybe the first 30 minutes of the game, I would say we did everything we needed to do to beat pretty much anybody that we played. And then the last 10 minutes, we did exactly what you need to do to get beat by about 30 different teams in this country. So going forward, you take those 30 minutes and you go, okay, how do we build on those? And our players understand it. So I like our upside is we can play till the last weekend of the season. We just have to make sure that we control that part of it and that we don't let that other part of it get in the way. And every team has issues going into the tournament. Ours are kind of minor compared to what they could be.
Is it your defense or the ball movement that's really encouraging?
I think the way we played defense, the energy level, the locked in that we were, how hard we competed, and how well the ball moved. The ball hasn't moved like that since, I don't even remember, January. So to get that back, to get that kind of flow back, and to get the defensive performance that we got, what's it going to take in the NCAA tournament? You got to play defense, you got to rebound, and you got to get great shots. And we pretty much did a lot of that these 3 days, and we did it really, really well.
Geno, you mentioned in your post-game presser just the importance of kind of seeding and where, you guys fall in terms of region with the NCAA tournament this year. Just when you look at kind of, how seeding is determined, I'm curious for your thoughts, just, how you guys have on the women's side with that being determined by net rankings and, quad wins not factoring into that like it does on the men's side. Just, what are your thoughts on that and kind of how quality of wins are factored into seeding?
Well, right now, I have no idea what the net actually is. So I don't know how you determined that we were number 2 net ranking. I don't know what that means. And I've asked a bunch of people and they have no idea what it means. If you ask me quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 wins, I would tell you I understand that. Mm-hmm. So next year or in the very near future, that's what we'll have on the women's side. It just takes us a little while to catch up sometimes. But for right now, I have no idea. So you could tell me, hey, according to the net, these are the top 10 teams in the country. This is how they're going to be slotted in the NCAA tournament, and I would go fine. Me, I kind of like look at my team and look at some other teams, and I can tell who's really good, who's not so good, who's really hard to play against, who's maybe not so hard to play against. So we'll see what the committee does, But this is the first year. When they had the RPI and they had all that other stuff, and then they have regional. It's just you just you shouldn't even give it the time of day. And a lot of people study this stuff, man, all year round. Coaches, they schedule for it. God bless them; they're smarter than me. They schedule for it. And they're very good at scheduling just the right team so that their rating is really, really high. And then they're going to get their ass beat in the NCAA tournament because they're really not that good. But I don't know anything about that stuff. I just look at Sunday and I'll watch on the screen, and that's what we're going to play. That's the honest to God truth. I'm not withholding any information, or that's it. That's how it's been for me forever.
34 straight years. I mean, I know you're going to get in that large berth even if you don't win. But to be the automatic qualifier, to know you're going to be on there. I know I asked this every year, I think, that, you're going to be on that board somewhere and they can't take you off of it.
Yeah. The object every year is to play the kind of schedule that gets you ready for the NCAA tournament. And hopefully you play in a league that challenges you. And I always said, I didn't say it when we were in the AAC, because it was different. It was just a different style of play. But all those years in the old Big East, and now this year, these last 3 years in this new version of the Big East, the challenges that you face in our league are the kind of challenges that help you play in the NCAA tournament, because you have to do certain things a little bit differently than you would do normally. You can't just play your normal game and go out there and play and think you're going to be able to, That's what everybody thought about Creighton last year. Oh, it's Creighton. They're from the Big East. But they finished third. Yeah, well, you try to beat them. And it's hard. And it's hard because there's a lot of really good basketball players in our league. There's no superstars other than Maddie probably and Aaliyah probably. But there's winning our league is means a lot. Always has. But the way you prepare for the NCAA tournament really is what you do every day on your practice court.
Coach, you have AZ Fudd back, but it seems like even though she's in the flow of the offense, it takes a while to get her shot to initially fall. Is there anything you're thinking about offensively, or just, you know, with her in practice leading up to the tournament, to see if you can get that to fall a little bit sooner?
No, AZ operates on a very strict timetable. When she's ready, she's ready. And she's not one to just step out and just, I got it. She has to make sure she's prepared properly. She's put in, you know, all the work. And that's why when they started going in, you can bet they're going to keep going in. But those first, it's almost like, you know, when you're such a good shooter like that, you put a little too much pressure on yourself, you know. So basically, you know, we just try to loosen her up a little bit during timeouts. And I think being at practice more often, I think she practiced like 2 days with us. Mm-hmm. That'll kind of help her get into the flow. Probably being in the starting lineup more, or not being in the starting lineup more, I don't know, but playing 30 minutes every night, she'll be in the flow.
You know, the last couple of days you've just driven past people to the basket, like time after time, like especially Aaliyah. Is that part of the spacing that you're talking about with having AZ back, that it loosens up things? That was pretty remarkable how Aaliyah could just slice
we couldn't
to the
put
basket.
Lou in 3 different spots in order to free up room for people to, and we worked really, really hard on keeping people at where they belong. You know, players have a tendency to shrink the court. You know, they creep in. And the 2 days before we came out here for the tournament, we spent an awful lot of time on making sure that our big guys had plenty of room to work with in there. Teams in our league trap the post a lot. And I thought we did a great job of that these 3 days. Because we have 2 post players, and Aubrey did her share of it, but we have Aaliyah and Dorka, who are both, Dorka did some things today which I wasn't sure she was capable of doing. You know, putting the ball on the floor and goal place, because there hasn't been any room. So if we can keep that, then I think we're a hard team to play, because not every team has 2 post players that are mobile enough to handle both of those guys.
We know what you said to us last Monday after the Xavier game. We can only imagine what you told the team in the locker room afterwards. What was, you know, if you can maybe share a little bit more of what you told them, and what was the response that you were looking for? What did you see something in any of their eyes to think, you know, they'll respond, or were you concerned that you might lose them and, you know, it might get away? Or, you know, just, you know, when you drove home on Monday, how did you feel about your team? And go, you know, as they, you know, look forward to the tournament.
Well, I live a little west of town, up some stores. I live a little west. So the way I felt was like, I want to wake up in California in 3 days. I just want to keep driving. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to come to practice. I don't want to, because when a game ends like that, you know, when you have a chance to clinch a Big East championship, and it's senior night, and it's all that stuff, the expectation level is you're just going to be like sky high, and you're just going to explode onto the scene. And I've said this before, right? Our players don't ever get too high, and they don't ever get too low, which for me is a problem, because I like for you to get like sky high when we do great things, and I like for you to be down in the dumps and pissed off when things don't go well, like we lose a game or something. But these guys try to stay in the middle all the time, and it bugged the hell out of me, you know? So I said what I said, and I said in the locker room what I said, and I just challenged them. I said, you guys have exactly 3 days to fix whatever it is that happened tonight either internally yourself or team-wise, take a look at it. Or the season's going to end in the next 2 weeks. That's it. That's basically the message I gave them. I just challenged them to take some responsibility here. Fix it. You know what it is. People think, people know what's going on. And luckily we have Nika and, Dorka, Aaliyah, we got some older kids and Paige helps a lot in that regard. And they came with a different vibe to practice.
Geno, did you come into this season, what did you come into the season thinking of where Aaliyah was? Did you think, oh, we're great there? Or did you consider how her sophomore season wasn't necessarily what she hoped it to be and wonder what might become of her junior year?
Well, the real honest answer is I just had my fingers crossed right from the very first day of practice that not just Aaliyah, but that our big guys needed to be dominant every chance they got. They needed to be a presence defensively in the lane. They needed to be a presence offensively in the lane. They needed to make some outside shots. And if they didn't do that, then I thought we were going to be in big trouble. And I kept my fingers crossed throughout the entire season. Because I always knew, I kept telling all the GMs and everybody that calls me, I said, look, I think Dorka's probably like a top 10 draft pick. And I kept harping on that. And then she would come to practice sometimes and do things, and I would go, I'm lying to these guys. And then she would come to practice and I would go, she should be a top 5 pick. So the inconsistency was driving me crazy. And the same with Aaliyah. It was one day she's like unbelievable, and the next day she's average. And we talked it through. And she said, I want to be more, more consistent, and I want to be more like she was today. I want to be more like that every day. So mostly, the inconsistency went away, and that's what I was crossing my fingers about. I knew Lou was going to be Lou. I knew AZ was going to be AZ. And I knew Nika was going to be Nika. And, so I wasn't really worried about that part. But with Aaliyah and Dorka, yeah, we needed them to be exactly what they've been these last couple of days for us to be that kind of a team.
Geno, last year I think when we talked about the season, I think the word you came up with was complicated.
Yeah.
What's the word that you'd have for this season?
Constipated.
Boy, I'm gonna have a hard time making that one work.
It's funny, whenever we played with the national team, Caroline Williams, our SID, whenever we played the French team, we always challenged her to get the word capitulated into the article about the French team, just so that we could rub it in. How would I describe this season? Like, I think I might have alluded to it. It was like a Greek play. There was pieces of everything. Shakespearean play, maybe. There was pieces of everything. There was the high of November. Well, there was the high of June. There was the low of August. There was the high of November. There was winds, the Portland winds and all that. And then there was the utter disappointment in how many people we had to keep losing and losing. So it was like every act was a different act in of itself, so we had to go through all these. But I always thought that if we're going to have to suffer through all this, there's got to be something good at the end. And that's what I kept saying to the team. You know, with everything that happened that was going bad, I said, nobody deserves to be dealt this hand. So there must be something at the end, you know? Yeah. Yeah, that river card needed to come up an ace. And we had to loosen it up a little bit, so my old Norristown days, bet them up, sleep in the park, take our chances, right? We stopped, I think, we stopped trying to be perfect. So last year was complicated. This year, whew, I can't even find one word to describe it.